Alright guys, welcome to the Anything Wrestling podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm here with a very special guest today. We're going to be breaking down all the matches on this year's WrestleMania 34 card. It's really stacked. I think it's certainly one of the more better WrestleManias. So I'm here with a very special guest today, Maria. And Maria, how you doing?
Sean, I'm good. Great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. First, before we get started, I wanted to ask you, how long have you been a wrestling fan?
Ooh, okay. Well, I think I've always been a fan of wrestling and just in general, combat sports,
right.
MMA, that kind of stuff. But as far as WWE and just being, more of a viewer, I think that was definitely maybe the last, 2 years. I think it started with, SummerSlam 2015, I want to say.
Yeah. With The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar match. Yeah, absolutely. So, in your personal opinion, what do you think about this year's WrestleMania match card? Because, it's really stacked.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely probably the biggest lineup we've had since, for a while now.
For a while,
yeah. So it's gonna be interesting, definitely looking forward to a few matches. Asuka versus Charlotte, that's kind of the one that has my attention just because we've been building up Asuka as this undefeated champion for now, and I want to see what happens,
Yeah, and speaking of, the women's revolution, I think we got 3 women matches on this year's card, which is really phenomenal.
Yeah, that's...
I think usually they have, 1 in previous years, but
definitely.
this year they got 3, which is stacked.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get a start on talking about, all these matches one by one. I'm going to start off with some of the matches that I think are probably going to start on the pre-show. First one we got here is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. What do you personally think about this match, and who do you see winning? Because I think the first year or so when they introduced the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, I think it was this big thing where it's whoever wins is going to get that big push, to the next year.
Definitely.
But I think within the last 2 or 3 years, all their selected winners have been really mediocre to, really just someone who's just there and gets lost in the shuffle. So, personally, what do you think of this match, and who is your personal favorite pick to win the match?
Well, I agree definitely that the Memorial Battle Royal has kind of lost a little bit of that prestige, I would say. Right. We saw, the years before, Baron Corbin, I believe, was the winner. And,
at 32,
and then we saw... he, won Money in the Bank, and then he lost his cash-in, and it just kind of went nowhere, and I just think that at this point, it's not a guarantee anymore, but it definitely is, there's a little bit of a momentum that at least is, provided, which, give or take, you can take that anywhere, and I think the right champion, the right competitor can definitely benefit from this.
Definitely, because it's I think the whole thing with Baron Corbin is that he was supposed to get a monster push, but I think with politics or him insulting Cena, I think something happened there, and then he just kind of, went back to really, really, mid-card. But then last year it was Mojo Rawley, and it's I was kind of shocked because I'm what's going on here?
Yeah, just, we've seen a lot of great NXT talent come up in the roster, and I think it's kind of, maybe that's the direction they're headed at, where they're kind of using this match to sort of, push more of the
platform.
NXT. Yeah, kind of a platform, exactly, to kind of just, introduce them into the main roster, hey, I'm the winner of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle, so where's my title shot,
So now, personally, who is, I know not all the competitors have been announced yet, they usually never are until the day of, but who would you like to see win this match and possibly get that push into the next year or so?
There's a couple for sure, but for me, I would say that, I don't know, I'm definitely just kind of, I just want to be surprised for this
They usually do surprises.
Yeah, so I'm not, we've heard of people, coming in and making their re-debut again this WrestleMania. Rey Mysterio, I don't know, just there's a lot of options.
That's actually a really good pick because he just made his Royal Rumble appearance, and there were rumblings about maybe he'll sign, maybe he won't, maybe it's a one-time deal. Just think about that. It's the largest athlete in the world, a battle royal dedicated to him, and the smallest, underdog wins it. I think that's
That'd
pretty
be pretty
fitting.
Interesting.
Personally, because he was left out of a match this year, I think I would maybe want to see Dolph Ziggler win this match, just because for a second I was convinced that Dolph was gonna win the Royal Rumble when he came out number 30, and I was like, this might be it.
Yeah.
But then, he gets eliminated like 2 minutes later, and it's all just, for Dolph, it's usually downhill from there. But I think if Dolph Ziggler can rack up a Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal win, that can certainly help him. Speaking of Battle Royals, we got our next match here, which once again might be on the pre-show. It's the now WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal, formerly known as the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal, which we know all the controversy surrounding that. But this is a first-timer for this, and I think over the last year for the Women's Revolution, there's been a lot of firsts. There's been the Royal Rumble, there's been the Money in the Bank. So, personally, this match being a first, who do you want to see personally win it? Who's your pick, or who do you think is a favorite to win this match?
Well, I think there's definitely a lot of the, momentum going for certain female competitors, like Alexa Bliss. There's also, Charlotte and Asuka, of course, but they kind of have the main spots right now in the other matches. So for this match specifically, I think I would like to see maybe Becky Lynch.
She was my pick too. She's kind of just been there over the last couple months. Yeah, she's just
kind of been in the mid card right now, and I think she did great as a former women's champion with the SmackDown title. So I would love to see her
Becky Lynch be the one. Yeah, because I feel like everyone else, Carmella is Miss Money in the Bank, which I don't know if we'll see a cash in at Mania. But I feel like Becky's kind of been that one person who's just you keep on seeing her and you kind of push for her all the time.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
Come on.
She's still really loved by the fans. So it just, it would just be a different, again, platform for Becky to maybe get another title shot or...
Right. So now we move on to what we think is probably going to be, all these matches are going to be on the main show. So let's start off with one which I think you and I have previously talked about, and we have our thoughts about this one. Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon in the mixed match. What do you personally think about this? Because I know you and I have not shied away from sharing our feelings about, Ronda Rousey signing. But what do you personally think about her coming from the UFC to the WWE?
Well, definitely. I have a lot to opinionate on Ronda Rousey. I think she's a phenomenal athlete. She did a lot for the UFC, and especially for women, being the first, bantamweight, champion.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a different... It's a different environment altogether. It's a different, the ring is different from the octagon, whereas here it's and I think she mentioned this before in an interview somewhere. It's a team effort now. It's a team sport. It's a collaboration. It's not just you coming out and you
win the fight, become champion.
You win, defend your title, become champion. You get all the glory. Now you have to work with certain number of women in the locker room to try and make a storyline work with the audience. Try to make something work that's going to be believable, that's going to build up enough momentum for, WrestleMania, for other pay-per-views in the future, It's not just the star quality of, I'm a, UFC champion, but now it's can I engulf myself in a storyline? Can I separate myself from that, and can I guess in a way rebrand myself without necessarily losing my identity? And that's kind of, I think, is going to be the toughest challenge here. It's just making that transition,
Which is, I think, what they kind of did with Brock Lesnar, because, when he came back in 2012, it's like he had the UFC gloves, the trunks, but everyone knew, hey, that's Brock Lesnar.
Exactly.
And I think that's why a lot of people are calling Ronda Rousey the Brock Lesnar of the women's locker room,
Exactly.
So, I think I pretty much agree with you. It's just, Ronda Rousey, I feel like she's not able to talk about her days in the UFC because, she got that big defeat. But it's like, I get it from a business standpoint. Vince is really smart to bring her in because that's ratings, that's money, that's attention, that's media. But personally, and it's not like she's really hogging up all the spotlight because she's not in a championship match. We already have 3 women, matches, including, the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. It's just the fact that she says, this was always my passion. That's where I kind of had a problem. I'm like, if this was your passion, why go to UFC, And now that she's coming here, this is my my dream. It's my full-time job. I don't know. I go both ways. But with that said, who do you see winning this match?
I really think that it would be interesting to see Steph and Triple H win.
Personally, I'm picking them just because of what I just expressed about Ronda Rousey, but, you know, I think, and especially when you really think about it, in their build-up, so far Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle have been beating Triple H and Steph just week after week. So I'm like, okay, if they're gonna beat them in the build up and they're gonna beat them in the actual match, what's the payoff for Stephanie and, you know, Triple H? I think that maybe on the go home episode of Raw, we need to have, you know, have the shoe be on the other foot. Maybe have Stephanie and Triple H like retaliate, do something really like nasty, and where you're like, oh wow, like they came back really strong.
Yeah, exactly. I like where they're going with this. I just hope that it's not, you know, just a repeat of I think it was previous year's WrestleMania or 2 years before that with The Rock and...
Oh, the 30-minute segment that they had.
I just want to see an actual match. I don't just want to see, you know, just a bunch of back and forth on the mic and then maybe one slam through the table and that's it. You know, just a little bit more.
An actual match here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think you and I are pretty much on the same page. I mean, I personally am preferring Triple H and Stephanie over, you know, Ronda and Kurt Angle. But I think that maybe they're more leaning towards more of Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey, you know, going away with the win because, you know, it's going to draw a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of attention. You know, they're making Ronda Rousey to look like a really big star, and she's been getting that monster push like we talked about. So, moving down the line here, next we got the WWE Cruiserweight Championship match, Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali. Personally, what do you think about 205 Live, and who do you see walking away with this? Because, you know, of the whole Enzo Amore thing about, you know, the sexual assault thing that happened, which...
The big controversy.
Yeah, with that, now the title is vacant, so you have a tournament to have these two meet. Personally, these two, I think, inside the ring, they can have a match of the year candidate, is the way I see it, like in regards to cruiserweight matches. But personally, what do you think about where 205 Live has gone, and who do you see walking away as the champion?
You know, these two competitors are definitely the most talented athletically. You know? So I actually would love to see any one of them win, but I think my pick is going to go with Cedric Alexander.
Yeah, I think he and Enzo were supposed to meet up before the whole thing happened, and then Cedric just kind of like lingered there as like the number one contender, and then now here we are. But I think that's where they're ultimately going is Cedric Alexander walking away with the win. So yes, I do agree with you there. Next up, we got the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship match. Now, this one is a little bit interesting because you have Cesaro and Sheamus, who I believe are one of the best tag teams ever. Yeah, even though I'm begging for a big Cesaro push, versus Braun Strowman, and at this point in time, partner of Braun Strowman's choosing. What do you think of this? Because I personally feel like it's an interesting way to execute as far as storyline goes, because Braun Strowman comes in as a singles competitor, wins a tag team battle royal, and it's like, wait a second, that's not, you know, correct here. But how do you feel about the build up to this, and who do you think Braun Strowman's partner could be?
You know, I definitely think that Braun Strowman has done a fabulous job at just, you know, just going the single route. You know, he's a great heel. But, you know, the heel where, you know, you're actually more of a face and, you know, the people cheer you. I think that's really cool. Cesaro and Sheamus definitely have been, very, you know, going strong with the tag titles, and they have great chemistry, and they're good at, you know, being heels as well. So I think it has to be somebody who not only is physically matched with Strowman, but someone who also has that same chemistry, or someone who's also shares the same values as him. You know, like, I'm doing this for me, I'm not doing this to please anyone else, you know. So as of now, I don't know, I think it could be maybe I don't know, you know what, as odd as it seems, I think it'd be pretty cool to have someone also maybe who's not as evenly matched as Strowman, someone who's completely, like, you know, at opposite ends.
Oh, it's funny you bring that up, because you think about Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman when they, you know, teamed up. I think at first everyone thought, oh, they're just throwing this together, but they actually made it work. Like, the chemistry they had, like, I think it brought out Braun Strowman's, like, very sarcastic, funny side. So I think he does pretty well with
there's that, you know, polarity between the two, right? You know, he's big and, you know, mostly...
Opposites attract.
And she's, you know, small, but fierce. And yeah, I think it could be somebody as well who's maybe not you wouldn't typically think of.
For a second, I thought that it might be Kane coming back and teaming up with Strowman, but then, we saw him this past Monday where he had that whole thing with John Cena, so I'm like, I they're not really leaning towards that way, and they're not even telling us who the partner is yet. So, but I think maybe on the Go Home episode of Raw, they're going to reveal to us who it is, but it'll be really interesting, but whoever Braun Strowman's partner is, do you see Cesaro and Sheamus retaining the tag team titles, or do you see Strowman and that mystery partner walking away with it?
You know what? I honestly, I do see them retaining the title. I don't think that there's been enough to kind of, challenge Cesaro and Sheamus. I don't think that there's really any enticement going on for someone else to have the titles.
Right.
I just think this is the way it's going to be maybe for some time. We'll see, but again, I just see maybe Braun just coming in there and maybe just kind of
going at it alone.
Yeah, just going at it and maybe doing something and just kind of walking away and doing his own thing. I don't think that the tag title would suit Braun. I think at this point he's better off.
Right, because it's like you said, he portrays himself as like a singles competitor.
Yeah,
like, I don't need anybody. He just goes in, he destroys something, and then, Raw is over. I really don't know which way to lean towards for this one. I feel like if Cesaro and Sheamus lose, they're probably going to split up. But if they don't, if they win, then maybe there's something, I'm thinking maybe like a title shot for Strowman, like right after, like the Monday after, WrestleMania. They're gonna like slowly start building him up for that title picture again, possibly. So I don't know which way to lean towards that one. So we'll have to just find out when WrestleMania is here. But moving on to the next match, this one is a little bit interesting. You got the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Charlotte Flair versus Asuka. Now, it's like you said earlier in the Women's Battle Royal, Asuka has been built up. I think a lot of people said she's like the female Goldberg. She's got that big streak going on. But personally, I feel like now, since she's joined the main roster, it's like that streak has kind of been like shoved down our throats. Like, oh, she's undefeated, 2.5 years. And that's kind of become like, I question, okay, once the streak is over, is she going to be in the spotlight? All that, all that much that she is now. Because I feel like they're going to like, take Asuka away for a little bit, like, oh, she no longer has the streak, but personally, again, like, what do you think of this match and who do you see walking out of Mania with that title?
I mean, at this point, I think it could go either way. I'd be happy to see Charlotte, defeat Asuka, and again, it could be just, it could lead to a rematch sometime later in the future, but, I don't know, I feel that at this point, because they're both kind of, faces in a sense. I mean, Asuka has kind of gotten a bit of a, maybe sort of hated reputation precisely because of the streak, and people are just kind of like, at this point, just kind of sick of, the whole concept of the streak, and it's like, hey, just change the title. But, in doing so, it has to be done, I think, the right way with the proper momentum, and it has to be somebody who's going to be received well by, the audience. Charlotte's a great competitor, but, how is she going to be received for, being known as the person who broke
the streak,
Asuka's streak?
I think the funny thing is that, so, two things. I think if Charlotte wins, it's going to start up that conversation of, oh, the only reason why she broke it is because she's Ric Flair's daughter. Let's give her all the accolades. That's something that was, on my mind too. But then again, it's like if Asuka wins, a lot of people have that impression that if Asuka wins, then she has her streak. Maybe Ronda Rousey's going to be the one to put an end to it, because like they, again, want to build her up and give her, all this attention. So... personally, it's like, once again, I'm kind of, like, the whole streak thing is kind of, like, it's kind of taken the purpose out for me. Like, the interest is not there for me.
Exactly.
Personally, I want to see Charlotte retain. I really don't think that's going to happen, but, you can always wish. But, with Asuka winning the Royal Rumble and, it being hyped up as, the first ever Women's Royal Rumble, I think Asuka's gonna probably walk out with it, but my hopes are that Charlotte Flair, retains and is the one to snap the streak. So
right, and another funny thing is that you mentioned, right, because that there is a possibility that it could be Ronda versus Asuka. After if
maybe around SummerSlam or so.
Yeah, and I think what would be interesting is that because Asuka's she has the new armbar, right, the move that she's been using in place of sometimes we see her use the the Asuka lock. Now we've been seeing her use more of the armbar, and then Ronda Rousey is known for using the armbar.
Right.
So I mean that
goes
would
hand in hand.
That would be very interesting just to see how they would tackle that, and just seeing how Ronda would defeat Asuka. Would it be via armbar or submission or count, pinfall? I don't know. It's just
it's also like from an advertising standpoint, you think about that match, because my buddy and I, we were actually talking about this. It's like if it was Asuka versus Ronda Rousey, you have the UFC, it's like the UFC prospect who's now in WWE, Ronda Rousey,
right,
and you have the undefeated Asuka who's never lost a match. So it's like marquee wise, that's a big match.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like, how is it going to be received? Because if Asuka beats Ronda Rousey, that's going to be pretty shocking.
Yeah.
I think it would have to be like Ronda's first defeat in WWE if Asuka were to win.
Yes.
But then again, it's like if Ronda breaks it, again, there's that whole thing, like I said with Charlotte, it's like, oh, the only reason why she's breaking it is because it's Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a tough call, but I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think, I'm thinking maybe Asuka's walking out. But at the end of the day, I think just like you, I'm rooting for Charlotte to get it done.
Yes.
Speaking of women's title matches, we got one that I feel like has been a really long time coming. It's the Raw Women's Championship.
Yes.
Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax. I personally have been rooting for Nia for a long time to either win the Rumble or get a title shot or win the title. And I feel like each and every time, I think with Asuka, she had 4 or 5 matches and all of them just lost, whether it was count out or pinfall or whatever it was. And personally, Alexa Bliss is my favorite women's wrestler right now on the roster. So Alexa Bliss, I mean, she's been doing a lot of good promos on the mic as women's champion, and she really she embodies what it is to be a heel, because I don't know if you saw for Elimination Chamber, once they had that first ever Elimination Chamber match, she's like, I'm so thankful and all this, and then she turns
into that's that's something that's absolutely great that I love about Alexa, is that she's so good at keeping the audience retained. She's so good at riling them up, and at the same time just having people cheer for her, right? Because they love that. They love a heel that, is in it for themselves, but that's also, kind of sort of the again, more of an anti-hero, if you will, right? So it's not a natural, true heel, say someone with Jinder Mahal, right? It's just, boo, just, because we don't like you, period. But it's it's great. It's great that we have a female competitor, or just a competitor in general, that's so good at being able to just be fluid with the audience and just keep their attention, whether it's one way or the other way. I actually do like this match, and I think that this match has a lot of potential to sort of bring in a lot of that whole kind of we saw with AJ Lee and Caitlyn back in the day, the whole kind of friend enemy type of thing. So it could be interesting. And I am rooting for Nia, because it would be awesome to see her as Raw Women's Champion. So I'm just I'm excited about this match, and I think that whichever way it goes, if Alexa does end up retaining, it could be just interesting to see more of this relationship storyline just kind of keep building and just see where it heads.
Because when there was that one segment where Alexa and Mickie James were backstage and they were right by the microphone and they were talking, you see Nia Jax just kind of storm in there, throws everything around and just lets out this scream, and I'm like, for a second she got me. I'm like, oh wow. But that's what I feel like they're trying to go for. Hey, let's feel sorry for Nia Jax, but also at the same time we want her to
just destroy Alexa and
Bliss.
just go off on her she did. Yeah, no, that could be interesting to see. How they're gonna tackle that, if Nia's gonna go in there just full out, just kind of rage and just brawl, and just beat the hell out of Alexa, or if it's gonna be more strategic. So Yeah, I'm excited about this match, and I hope that whichever way it does end up going, that we see more of this relationship. Because again, Alexa and Nia have great chemistry in the ring, out of the ring, so I think it's definitely something that.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board. I feel like Nia Jax really needs to win this one because Alexa already has that push. It's like, even if she loses the next night on Raw, I can guarantee you they're going to still be trying to,
Exactly, right.
But with Nia, I feel like if she doesn't win, she's going to, like, fade away into that shuffle again. And, you know. So, moving on to a match that just made the card last night, and I hope does not go on the pre-show just for the mere fact that the Usos are in it and they deserve their WrestleMania match. SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. It's the Usos versus the New Day versus the Bludgeon Brothers. I mean, the New Day and the Usos have had, like, match of the night candidates, and now you can only imagine with the Bludgeon Brothers, formerly known as the Wyatt family, in there. I mean, tag team matches nowadays they hold up. They're pretty good. And I think that the build up to this match it's been fair. It's been really good. It started off with the New Day and the Usos kind of just, you know, hey, like, we're going back at it again, and the Bludgeon Brothers just come out of nowhere and just destroyed these guys. I mean, personally for me, Usos are the champions right now. I think the Usos should retain just because I feel like the Usos have been doing great. You know,
they're so good as heels.
Yeah, after they lost the face paint and the colorful, you know, trunks
day one-ish thing going on.
With that, it's like they're nailing it. They embody being a heel, but by the same token, they can also embody being a face. The New Day, I feel like they're still gonna have their it's the New Day. You know, they're gonna be out there doing, you know, Booty-O promos or ice cream promos or whatever. But the Bludgeon Brothers, it's really interesting because they get repackaged, you know, as a tag team. And now it's like, if they lose this match, you know, where do we go from there? Maybe, you know, the next pay-per-view, which I think is maybe Backlash, you have the Usos versus the Bludgeon Brothers. But for me personally, I think I want the Usos to win just because, you know, they were cutting a promo about a week ago when they're like, for 7, 8, 9 years, we've been here. And we have yet to have a WrestleMania match. I mean, last year they were champions and they were not even on the card anywhere on the card, which I'm like, how does that happen? But now that they have a match, I'm like, I want the Usos to get it done. But what do you personally think about this match?
No, I mean, I agree. I think they have a great thing going on, and I want to see the Usos, you know, keep their tag team titles for a really long time. You know, I used to want to see actually Fandango and Tyler Breeze, right? Breezango be the ones to, you know, kind of defeat the Usos, but they've kind of, you know, lost a little bit of momentum.
They got a little bit push in there with all those gimmick matches, but then they just once again just faded off into the background.
I think so. Going right now, I think the New Day is great because they have their own, you know, kind of little thing going on with, you know, again, they have more kind of a colorful and more of a happy-go-lucky gimmick, and then the Usos is more, you know, street, and it's more, you know, a little bit more vicious and a little bit more, you know, kind of like just shoot everyone down. So it'd be really cool to maybe see the New Day and kind of the Bludgeon Brothers just kind of sort of maybe just kind of team up against the Usos, and then after that, I don't know, maybe have the New Day win or something. But
oh, you mean like in the match have the New Day and the Bludgeon Brothers team up against them? Because now, you know, they got, you know, it's basically the Usos and the New Day teaming up against the Bludgeon Brothers, but on SmackDown, they had a little bit of like a shoving altercation. So it's like they might flip that script where it's like, you know, the New Day and the Bludgeon Brothers might just like get rid of the Usos, and then they battle it out, and then the Usos might come back and get into it. So it's gonna be chaos, personally, but I personally, you know, I hope that the Usos win just because, once again, that promo just stuck out to me about the whole 9 years. I'm like, you know, they're right. They're 100%
exactly
right.
No, and again, it's great getting the WWE Universe on their side, and I think it's just, they got a great thing going on. And I want to see definitely more of, you know, promos like that, because that's exactly what we need now to definitely become invested.
They've been doing it like week after week. The Usos will come out, they will just, you know, grab onto one thing and they'll go for it and they'll nail it. You know, one thing I also want to add is that I think the Usos have always, you know, people sometimes say, oh, the Usos were only relevant after they became heels. I can remember there was one match, this is back in Battleground 2014. It was the Usos back when they had, you know, the face paint and the colorful, you know, attire.
Yeah.
And they were facing Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, but they were the Wyatt family back then. And I think it was like a 2 out of 3 falls match, but it was like almost 25 minutes. It was one of those matches where like someone hits a finisher, you think it's over, they kick out. And for 5 minutes, that just kept happening. And I'm like, wow, these guys, they belong. Like, they proved it. They belong. And there was also like a Money in the Bank match with the Shield versus the Usos.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I think the Usos have always had it. It's just now it's more enforced. It's more in your face. It's more real. It's more like, it's more visceral, them. With that said, we got a United States Championship match, which up until last night was a triple threat, but has now just become a fatal four-way. You have the champion Randy Orton versus Bobby Roode versus Jinder Mahal versus Rusev. I would have to say that, before Rusev got added into the match, I was thinking maybe Randy Orton retains, or second scenario, Bobby Roode wins, because he's the one who kind of lost the title, didn't get that proper rematch, and Jinder has just kind of been in those high profile matches, and just I think the whole, because they had him be champion just for the sake of getting more fans invested, which obviously didn't work out. But now that Rusev is in this, the whole Rusev Day, I mean, at first I was like, oh my god, what are they doing? But then it kind of caught on fire.
Yeah, and it's huge now. I mean, they have a Rusev Day t-shirts, and then, he has Aiden English, helping out with him sing the anthem and all of that. So, I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, back in WrestleMania 31 when it was John Cena versus Rusev, I am in no way, shape, or form a fan of Cena, but I was hoping Cena would win just because Rusev's gimmick had just become very repetitive. It was the accolade, he wins, the big, Russian flag comes down, and it was just the same scene, like, every single time at the end of a pay-per-view. And finally I was like, they have to, like, stop doing this, because I think at that point it was, like, literally a year of them just doing that,
Yeah.
But now I feel like Rusev, he has more of, like, he has more personality.
He's more of a brand.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Aiden English, like, there just to, like, sing and, like, just personalize everything, I feel like they're making it work.
Yeah.
So I think to cap it off with Rusev, because I know last year they had Rusev come back and he lost to John Cena in a flag on a pole match. And I thought about it, I'm like, so you bring Rusev back only to have him lose and job again to Cena. And he lost to Randy Orton in like 9 seconds at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So I'm like, poor Rusev, like, but I think now that he has the gimmick, they can go for it. They can have him be U.S. champion. But I mean, what do you think? Do you see Rusev winning this one, or do you have one of the other 3 guys winning this match?
You know what? I mean, it could be any of the 3, and I say 3 because I don't know how I feel about Bobby Roode in this match. I feel it's just I don't know. It's a little too early for him to be kind of in this whole mesh with Randy Orton, and we've seen Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal. In the I think it was the Punjabi match, right?
Yeah.
So I'm all for that, and I like the idea of Rusev being added because again, there's the whole like kind of like when we have with Cena versus Rusev in the days before, Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal, it's the whole like patrioticness of it all, like it's the U.S. versus some other
different country.
Exactly. So we have Jinder Mahal for India, and then Rusev for Bulgaria. So I think it'd be kind of interesting to see again maybe like a whole like maybe little team up in the match within the match itself. Jinder and Rusev take out Bobby Roode or then Randy Orton, and then just kind of see maybe Randy Orton, retain by taking out Jinder Mahal.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the way that I see this match going. But I don't know. What do you think about in general? Maybe like the momentum that Jinder Mahal had, going for that with his gimmick of just the people of India, and then
Personally, I thought that I didn't have a problem. I mean, here's the thing. I thought that if they really wanted to build up Jinder as being WWE Championship material, what they first should have done is instead of giving him... Because he went from being a jobber to being the guy, like the champion.
And I think that definitely added to his, whole heel, momentum was just, wow, this guy is WWE Champ? How could that, how did that happen? And it was just such a shock factor that I think it's exactly what, WWE needed at that time, because it was just totally gonna get the audience against Jinder, and it was totally gonna just make Cena or Randy Orton or any of the other veterans just kind of like give them that that chance to get the audience back on their side, right?
Right. I mean, I never thought about it from that perspective, but now that you bring it up, that's a kind of a good way to get the heat on Jinder. But I think right now at this point, Jinder, I mean, if he does win this match, first of all, I think it will kind of be in his favor because here's the thing: Jinder being champion, I don't think was the problem. I think it was the fact that he would always use the Sin Brothers.
Sin Brothers, yeah,
so
exactly.
It's like, I get it, being a heel, you have to do that, but the heels always need to have that one match or a couple matches where they win on their own. There's no help. They get it done. They're like, see, I could do it on my own.
Yeah.
But Jinder, I think the credibility of like, first he was in 3MB. Yeah, it's like when he had that reputation and he came back and he was still losing and all of a sudden he wins this number 1 contender match and then he becomes champion and then he beats Randy 3 pay-per-views in a row. It's like, I think it was awful too quick and no one was buying it. That's the thing.
Exactly.
I feel like if Jinder Mahal becomes champion at WrestleMania, use the US title to build him up as like this competitor that people can believe in. They can, bank on it.
Yes.
And then once he has that momentum where it's like, okay, we know who Jinder is, we know what he's capable of, let's maybe try to slip him back into the title picture. I think that approach would maybe, be the most believable from the fans' perspective. But, I mean, again, it's like all these guys, if they win, personally I'm voting for Rusev. But if Jinder Mahal wins, I think if they take that approach, it can certainly build up Jinder Mahal to be a legitimate, like mid-card contender. Moving right along here, we got the Intercontinental Championship match, which is really funny because, I mean, the match is the champion, The Miz, versus Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. It's kind of funny because I feel like everyone was supposed to be in like a different track at this point in time because Finn Balor was rumored to win the Rumble and, go on to face Lesnar, and that didn't happen. And then Seth, I think, was supposed to face Dean Ambrose, and then he got hurt, and he was supposed to face Jason Jordan, and then he got hurt. So it's like everyone just kind of like got, roadblocks and detours, and now here we are at a triple threat match. I think that the Miz TV segments have been pretty okay. I mean, the segment that they had on Monday where we thought Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel were gonna ditch Miz, and they turned it around. I think that was really good. I personally, Seth Rollins is my favorite, superstar to watch right now, so I'm going with Seth Rollins, but I really think about it, I'm like, Finn Balor has really dropped, like, the momentum.
Right, exactly, and I think that, he's definitely long overdue, and again, that could be, maybe because of injury, early on, where I think he was injured by Samoa Joe, and then he just kind of lost that, momentum when he won the Universal Championship, right, and...
Yeah, and then he actually, ironically, to Seth Rollins, and then when he came back, it wasn't the same.
Yeah, it just was not the same. But of course, that all depends on the right competitor, the right challenger.
Right.
So as far as with this match for the Intercontinental Championship, I mean, we saw, in the segment, right, on Raw with, the Miz and the Miztourage, and we thought that maybe, we're going to see something with the Miztourage, turning against the Miz, and maybe, siding with Seth Rollins, and, again, it turns out it's just, setup.
Yeah.
So I think it's, great that the Miz still has, his little entourage, the Miztourage, because that, again, like you mentioned, that comes in handy for a lot of heels.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting lineup, right? We have Seth Rollins and we have Finn Balor, and Finn had this, I think he had a earlier segment with Miz. I think it was earlier in the year where I think he was on Miz TV. Was it? I'm not sure.
I think he was a separate guest on Miz TV.
And so again, there's that whole like who are you? You're no one. You're from NXT. You're. I mean, that was back in the day, but now it's still kind of like Miz is really one of the bigger veterans. He's
a really good heel.
Yeah,
like he knows how to work the crowd. It's like Alexa Bliss. She knows how to work the crowd. Miz will just he'll just turn it over and So you're going with Finn Balor on this match?
Yeah. You know what? I think it could be just what he needs. But again, I love seeing the Miz too. He's one of those heels that you love. So yeah. I mean, I love seeing the title on him. So yeah, I'm gonna go for Finn to see if he can win the championship. I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
And I mean, you know, that's an interesting point because if the Miz retains, I feel like Seth Rollins and Finn Balor could go back to, and there's a problem with that too, because the last 3 Raws or 4 Raws, I think they've had like Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have another one for the go home show.
Mm-hmm.
But if they hadn't had that, I think that if Miz retained, Seth Rollins and Finn Balor could kind of like pick up where they left off when, you know, Finn got hurt and, you know,
exactly.
Seth was trying to chase back, you know, the Universal Championship. But we'll see how that match goes. Now we have one of the more exciting ones. Not that any of the matches are not exciting, but I think everyone will know why I'm saying that.
Yes.
You have the returning Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And I know we were talking about this earlier. The whole thing with Daniel Bryan coming back, everyone thought that that's it, it's done. Like, there's been an official retirement. The one like hidden rule in WWE is that nothing is ever truly official. You know, it's like, because they have so many like ceremonies and moments where it's like, oh, this is officially this, and like plans change. But Daniel Bryan coming back to compete, and I mean, I think once we heard this announcement, everyone was just kind of throwing predictions out the window. You know, Daniel versus Shinsuke, Daniel versus AJ, all these dream matches that everyone's like, oh, let's see it. Let me first ask you this. Do you have a dream Daniel Bryan match that you want to see? I mean, after this WrestleMania match, is there like a match that you're like, I want to see that one day?
Yes. You mean as far as the singles match with
a
Daniel
singles
Bryan?
match,
yes.
yeah.
Okay. Actually, The Miz. Because I do remember there was that one episode of Talking Smack, yes, where, you know, The Miz, you know, went off on Daniel Bryan because he you know, was not...
he was calling him a coward.
Exactly. And of course, you know, Daniel Bryan couldn't do anything because, you know, he's the host of the show, and then, you know, he has, you know, his you know, what we thought was kind of like, you know, his... pretty much the death sentence of his career, right? Hey, right. I'm out, you know, I can't compete anymore in my health, so we never got to see that redemption from Daniel Bryan.
I definitely agree, and I think it's actually a no-brainer because you have The Miz using Daniel Bryan's moves, and it's so funny because Corey Graves and Michael Cole like, oh, that's the famous it kicks, and Michael Cole corrects him every single time. No, it's the yes kicks.
Yes.
So, I think personally for me, Daniel Bryan has mentioned that this is his dream match, Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, but I don't know if you remember that match with Brock Lesnar and John Cena. Brock Lesnar, like, suplexed him, like, I think 16 times? 10 or 16 times. Mm-hmm. And it was basically a squash match for Cena. Mm-hmm. And I heard somewhere that originally that was supposed to be Daniel Bryan in there. Which is really scary if you think about it.
Yeah.
But I think Daniel Bryan has said that's my dream match. I think that's a match I want to see. Mm-hmm. Very, very scary because, you know, with the whole neck thing, with taking all those German suplexes, you got to be careful. Yeah. But I think I would want to see the one with The Miz just because it's like, from a storyline perspective, you could build on that with the whole thing with Talking Smack, you know. But now, in regards to this match, who do you see winning? And you know, the stipulation is that if Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon win, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens stay fired. If Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn win, they come back to SmackDown Live. So, who do you see winning, and where do you see it going from this point forward?
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I just think it's way too early for Daniel Bryan. You know, he's barely coming back, and I don't know if, you know, the audience will buy that. You know, like, hey, you're coming back fresh, you know.
Yeah.
After not wrestling for what, you know, a year or so. So it's just
and a half,
So I mean, I just think it's, you know, and then Kevin and Sami winning, it's kind of like, hey, you know, you're gonna fire us now, or, you know, it's just.
Yeah.
I think it's it'll keep the storyline open to maybe a future, you know, involvement from Shane and Daniel. I don't know, maybe Daniel and Shane could, you know, turn against one another or something, now that Daniel's back as a competitor and, you know, maybe not as just a GM. So that could be interesting. But I see Kevin and Sami winning this match.
You know, I think there was one little spoiler that they threw in there, is that they said if Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn lose, they are fired from SmackDown Live. Mm-hmm. And, you know, because usually they say, oh, they'll be fired from the WWE, but they said SmackDown Live. So I'm thinking, if Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon win, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn will show up on the Monday right after WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. You know, like, we're here.
Exactly.
But then again, it's like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have showed like little cracks in their friendship, you know. Personally, I think I would want to see Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon win this just because, first of all, it's Daniel Bryan's comeback match. Two, I feel like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have gotten the better of Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan. There's been no retaliation effect. It's just been like, it's like I said for the Ronda Rousey, Triple H, Stephanie, and Kurt Angle match, it's been very one-sided, you know. But I think this is going to be the one match everyone is really going to be looking forward to just because of, you know, Daniel Bryan's sudden return and you know, to WrestleMania.
Exactly.
Moving along here, we have a dream match. The WWE Championship, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke wins the Royal Rumble. AJ Styles is champion. Here we are. It's a dream match coming true. What do you think of this match?
You know what? These are really solid competitors, and I know AJ Styles, he's had, I think, one of the best runs out of any competitor in WWE over the last, 2 years? 2 years, yeah. I mean, he's pretty much won everything. He won the WWE Championship, like, very early on in his, you know...
Yeah, against Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, less than a year.
So, I think Shinsuke also has been kind of, like... you know, suppressed a little bit to mid-card because, you know, just, again, it's that whole transition from, you know, the NXT to the main roster, and you know, it sucks to say that happens a lot with, you know, more of the foreign competitors, you know, Shinsuke, and then, well, we haven't seen really Asuka be sort of that dominant force, besides her just, you know, just winning the match, but there hasn't really been anything
like
else
against local competitors, you know, 30-second matches.
Yeah. So, you know, I would love to see Shinsuke win this match just to see if, you know, if winning the WWE Championship, if that will sort of again maybe lift up, you know,
the momentum.
Yeah, the momentum, and then if the audience will sort of welcome him again, you know, as you know, as he was previously, you know, NXT champion, you know, way back in the day. So I mean, but I mean, these are great competitors. AJ's great competitor, and we've seen him, you know, beat some of the best, right, in the recent matches. So I'm gonna go with Shinsuke just because I feel that, you know, him winning WWE Championship, and then maybe depending what they do with Asuka, it could be kind of that whole like resurrection of the, you know, the NXT, you know, champions or something. But you know,
I mean, I 100% agree. Because I feel like Shinsuke, when he debuted, we were all thinking, and he was going against Dolph Ziggler, which Dolph Ziggler can have a match. I don't think anyone's gonna deny that. But Shinsuke just came in, and it's like, we were expecting so much, and they just dropped the ball with him. Like, I think, so Dolph Ziggler and Shinsuke had a match at Backlash, which was Shinsuke's debut. And I think they had one more match on SmackDown, which was ironically a whole lot better than their Backlash match. Yeah. And I'm like, why couldn't we just do that the first time around? Exactly. You know? But, you know, I feel like Shinsuke, as you said, because I think AJ, no matter what, Vince McMahon has established that, hey, the guy is up here. We're not dropping the ball with him. Exactly. So I think Shinsuke really needs the title match, or needs the win, the title. And I can see, once again, a lot of, you know, who knows, maybe by SummerSlam we could have Shinsuke versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship, you know. So yeah, I'm certainly there with you, certainly. And then we have a very controversial one. We got the Universal... My favorite. Yeah. The Universal Championship match. Brock Lesnar, the champion, versus the very polarizing Roman Reigns. Yes. You know, I was watching live WrestleMania 31 when Lesnar and Reigns fought for the first time. And it wasn't even a wrestling match. It was like half UFC and half wrestling. It's just... Lesnar was slapping Reigns. He was punching him. He was like giving him knees to his ribs, and I'm like, they're hurting each other. Yeah. And I think for it to be capped off with Seth Rollins, you know, cashing in, it was brilliant. I loved it. But this time around, obviously, there's no longer any Money in the Bank, so there's not going to be any surprises there. Now I'm going to ask you the one question where, you know, again, very controversial. who do you see winning this match?
It's got to be Brock Lesnar, you know. He keeps his momentum going, right? Is, you know, no one can take down Brock Lesnar, but at the same time, it adds more to you know, the reception that Roman has gotten, especially in the recent weeks, right? You know, because he's pretty much just attacked dead on what the audience thinks of Brock Lesnar. And exactly, he's also that polarizing character, you know, you love him or you hate him, and you respect him because he is also UFC champ, but he's not done much as a WWE superstar to earn that respect from, you know, the crowd. He's never there, and so I think that him showing up all of a sudden and you know, defeating Roman Reigns is kind of like, yeah, you know, I don't need to show up because I can take you down whenever I want, and
right.
I can keep the title and it's mine, and you know, it's gonna be mine, and I don't have to show up for it, you know, because I'm the champion. But
I mean, I feel like, here's the thing, when, because I've heard, you know, some people say, oh, you know, Brock Lesnar, you know, he does suplex after suplex. They complain about Roman Reigns having, you know, 2 moves. All Lesnar does is suplex, F5, and that's it, call it a day.
Yeah.
And I have to remind people and say, hey guys, back in 2002, 2003, Brock Lesnar was a established top guy, you know, in the company.
Exactly.
And he wasn't just doing suplex after suplex. He was having, you know, great matches with Undertaker, Kurt Angle,
Eddie Guerrero, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I feel like the whole Suplex City, which I feel like now is a gimmick, that's kind of become his trademark, is just, I'm going to get in the ring and I'm going to suplex you as many times as it takes to get the job done. So I'm going
to do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
You know.
But I will say, I don't agree with, you know, not showing up all the time, wrestling a couple matches a year, especially when you're the champion, because I feel like because I think a lot of people have said that, like, now they have the best roster when it comes to just athletes, superstars. You have, it's stacked. There's so many people, especially with the whole influence of NXT. But the problem is that when you have, you know, a part-timer basically coming in and taking a championship, that's someone who could have had that push, you know?
Exactly.
Now, everyone's going to think I'm a hypocrite for saying this, but, you know, I don't want to see Roman Reigns win, so I want to say Brock Lesnar, but I think they're really going to have Roman Reigns win and go on this next, you know, run for, you know, God knows how long. But, I mean, I will say this, the last time we thought that Reigns and Lesnar, when they were going to clash, everyone thought, oh my God, it's going to be boring. And they actually had a really good match. And even, I think, if the ending was Roman Reigns winning, which it was, I think people would walk away saying, hey, you know what? We don't agree with the winner, but that match was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's what happened here. But once again, we'll have to find out. Now, we have the most unofficial official match on the WrestleMania card. John Cena versus The Undertaker. Their build up to this match has been, it's been really interesting. It's been different, because usually it's guy comes out, I challenge The Undertaker, lights go out, he shows up, okay, like he does, you know, the throat slash and it's official. But the whole thing of do something, you know, has been so interesting for Cena, because it seems like he's playing, he's obviously, you know, the face, but I think he's coming from a place of like having like small heel moments here and there, where he said, you know, you're a coward, you know, get over your own ego and stuff like that. I think it's really interesting, because, so I'm just gonna say this. Everyone last year thought, oh, Undertaker, he's retired. He's gone. He left the coat in the ring, the hat in the ring.
He hung up his boots.
Yeah, and my argument was, guys, when the streak ended, everyone thought, that's it. He's gone. When he wrestled Shane McMahon afterwards, he put his gloves in the middle of the ring. Everyone thought, that's it. He left his legacy in the ring.
Yeah.
And he still wasn't gone. You know, last year, everyone thought, that's it. He's gone. He's retired. And the whole time I was like, guys, the WWE has not officially said that he's retired. But I think they're obviously going to go for it, because, you know, I mean, even if they do, who do you see winning this match? Because to me personally, when the streak was broken, I felt like it was the wrong call. In my opinion, the streak should have never ended at, you know, at WrestleMania.
Definitely.
So my pick obviously is going to be The Undertaker for this one, but what do you think personally?
Well, actually, I see Cena winning this, you know, and I think, again, it's Cena's also maybe perhaps acting in a way as a hypocrite because he's been absent, lately. He's been doing other stuff outside of WWE, so it could go either way, with the Undertaker has his legacy no matter what, but Cena is the face of the company, and he has more of a responsibility than the Undertaker does because he's still the face of the company. So I think that him winning sort of solidifies him as retaining his status, but then it also adds to more of a possibility for a return from the Undertaker for, again, maybe a possible
for a return match, kind of like the whole Brock Lesnar thing where he came back. So now, you kind of answered the question, but would you say maybe with Cena winning, the Undertaker officially hangs up the boots?
It's interesting, it's hard to say just because, it's WrestleMania and...
It comes up every year, Undertaker is done, and he somehow comes back for that one
and
more
it
match.
could just be for, again, just because of the fact that it is WrestleMania, and just be for show, and then, he might retire, maybe the Monday after WrestleMania, we never know, they could do something big, think of the match with Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels, right? And that was huge, and it was emotional, and that was the moment that you knew, okay, he's done, right? Because he said his goodbye properly to the fans, to the WWE. So I'm kind of waiting for something else, to give that, I guess,
to make it official.
Yeah, to give that spotlight to The Undertaker, just for The Undertaker. So I think right now it's going to be just kind of Cena's moment, and then I think it's safe to say we'll see more of The Undertaker later on.
Afterwards, no matter which way it goes. Yeah, you can never tell with The Undertaker because The Undertaker, first of all, once in a lifetime, every time you think the guy is done, he somehow comes back and he's still doing it. So now that we've discussed all of that, there's one match here that I think, from my count here, we got 14 WrestleMania matches. Usually 3 of them go on the pre-show. Who's to say maybe they might have 4 of them go on the pre-show just to make room for the actual event itself, which I feel like will kind of be robbing some of the superstars of that spotlight. But there's one match that I feel like these 2 women wrestlers had a really good segment on Monday.
Yes.
Where they were just in each other's face and the truth came out, and I feel like we saw a different side to Bayley.
Yes.
So there's one match here that I think if it gets added on is just the icing on the cake. Sasha Banks versus Bayley grudge match. What do you think? Who do you see winning the match?
Oh man, I agree. This last Monday's Raw was just exactly what we needed. It was a great exchange of dialogue. It was just the perfect moment to set up, kind of the crackle in their friendship. It's over, so and we don't know officially who's in what position. We don't know if it's Bayley who's now heel or Sasha who's now heel, or who's really to say who's face or heel. So I just think that the rivalry in general is just it's great. It's got my attention, and I definitely do want to see this in WrestleMania. So, it could go either way, but I would love, to see Sasha have the win over Bayley, because I think that, I think the last thing that Bayley said to Sasha was, how long did you, keep the title?
Right.
So I would love to see Sasha win and get more of that momentum, and then have, maybe a different storyline where we see Bayley versus Sasha again, and then maybe, we see Bayley develop a different side to it, right? Like a more heelish personality, and then, it's just, it's great. It's great. I think that, everything leading up to this moment was great. The whole backstabbing in the Elimination Chamber, and then, just kind
Royal
of like
Rumble.
the awkward exchange here and there in every Raw, and then just kind of, the mismatch of communication in their tag matches. So I think it's great. I would love to see this match. Another match, actually, or maybe just something else that I forgot to mention, was Dean Ambrose's possible return.
Ooh.
I would love to see him, turn heel. That's been rumored. I don't know if this would be the right situation, given that Seth Rollins is in a match with The Miz and Finn Balor, but...
I quickly want to touch on this, I completely agree with you for the Sasha Banks and Bayley match. I think Sasha really needs to win this match. So I think Sasha really could use that win, because, I kind of keep track of, WrestleMania, records. It's like Sasha went into WrestleMania 32 with that triple threat. She didn't win the match. Last year in the Fatal 4-Way, didn't win.
Right.
Bayley did have her victory last year as women's champion. So she's, it's like, if Bayley doesn't have her WrestleMania moment this year, it's fine because, she has one. But I think with Sasha, it's been a long time coming.
That's actually, that's actually kind of interesting that you mentioned that is, yes, we haven't really seen Sasha have that WrestleMania moment. We've seen her have her moment after, WrestleMania, but at WrestleMania, no, we want to see the boss, have her moment, have her spotlight, whether that's as a heel or face, I think it's definitely long overdue, and I think that's more fire or more fuel added to the fire, in this rivalry, as we see Sasha saying, no, I'm going to have my moment, and I don't care if, your feelings are hurt, and if, if the other women think you're, loser, I'm not going to be there to protect you anymore because I'm, going to be doing my own thing again as a singles competitor. So
because I like Bayley, but once again I feel like much like Shinsuke, they kind of dropped the ball with Bayley. I was hoping that when she was feuding with Alexa Bliss that they would have that Bayley come out where she can use the kendo stick as a weapon and kind of show that aggressive side. But I think personally, if Bayley does lose this match, we have to now build up a whole new side to Bayley. Maybe not a heel, but like a much more aggressive side, a little bit of like an hero shift. But I do believe that Sasha could use that win at WrestleMania just because it's like Bayley and Sasha are already known for their NXT TakeOver match, which was like one of the greatest matches ever.
Exactly.
In regards to Dean Ambrose's return, once again, original plans I believe were for Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. It's just that the heel and the face was going to be turned this time around. But I think if Dean were to have any business at Mania, maybe it would be interfering in the match and it costing Seth Rollins, the title, or possibly maybe even entering the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and possibly winning it.
Yeah, it's an interesting lineup. It's a really big set of matches that we have going on. Again, I'm expecting a lot of different outcomes. I'm expecting anything and everything possible for this year's WrestleMania. Right.
I think there's going to be, a couple surprises, in regards to like who wins and maybe, debuts or people returning or all that. I just got to say that, they're pretty stacked, so I hope to God they don't have like a 20-minute segment of just someone coming out to, taking up time or having like 2 band performances, because while those are important for media and attention, we need to give these athletes the proper time to put on, a proper WrestleMania.
Yes, definitely.
So there you go, guys. We just went through, and broke down all these matches and what we thought. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. This year's WrestleMania is certainly going to be, it's stacked, it's going to be exciting, it's going to be interesting. Once again, Maria, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Once again, guys, let us know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll all catch you guys next time.